We will get started. First, just want to say welcome everyone to this Applied Learning Employer Showcase. We have some really cool guests with us today. I'll introduce them here in a bit. My name is Brian Austin. I am the Director of Employer Relations with the Shocker Career Accelerator here at Wichita State University. So what does that mean? That means that what is it that I get to do every day? I get to work with employers to help them hire our students with a focus on applied learning. So we have a bunch of phenomenal employers and a couple of the best today on the call. One external with Wichita Public Schools, who offers phenomenal applied learning opportunities and other employment opportunities, which Allison and Penny will visit with you about shortly. And an internal employer partner, which is Michael Henderson with NIAR, the National Institute for Aviation Research, which as an internal WSU department employs hundreds of WSU students at any given time. And so I'm super eager to hear from both of them today, Wichita Public Schools and NIAR. And we will get to that in just a second. So very quickly, I wanted to couple housekeeping items. If you have questions today, please feel free to drop them in the chat. We have my colleague Julie, who's monitoring the chat, as well as Bobby Gandu, who is our AVP, Associate Vice President of Strategic Enrollment Management on the call. So if you have questions concerning admissions, enrollment, or questions about employment for Wichita Public Schools, for Michael with NIAR or us as the Shocker Career Accelerator, please feel free to jump in and ask those questions. So, and then at the end of the presentation, feel free to you can ask those questions in the chat. Keep your mic muted. There will be an opportunity at the very end of the presentation for questions. So don't feel like, if you have a burning question, you're not going to get a chance to ask it. I promise I will give you a chance to ask it. So yeah, before we get started with Wichita Public Schools and NIAR, I just want to give everyone a quick overview on the Shocker Career Accelerator here at Wichita State. So you guys can see my screen, Allison and Mikey. Okay, it should just say Shocker Career Accelerator on it, correct? Okay, wonderful. So what do we do here at Wichita State? So you all as incoming students to Wichita State University, we want to get to meet you. We want to know you. Our job at the Shocker Career Accelerator is to get you career ready. So that means helping build those professional skills that you have, whether it's resume reviews, mock interviews, different career programming, connecting you with, and in a big way, what we're doing today, connecting you to applied learning opportunities and prospective employers. So those are just a couple of the big ways we help you as WSU students get career ready. So applied learning is our differentiator. We are really good at it here at Wichita State University. Last year, our WSU students participated in over 8,000 different experiences and earned more than $30 million in wages. So with all kinds of different employer partners, so including Wichita Public Schools and the National Institute for Aviation Research, who you'll hear from here in just a bit. What does that mean? Well, that means our students at WSU, soon to be you, joining us this fall, if you are working, 10 or 20, 25 hours per week, part-time, in one of these applied learning opportunities while you go to school full-time, earning a decent wage, 12, $15 an hour or more, you have the potential to earn tens of thousands of dollars in wages while you are going to school here at Wichita State University. That's bigger than most scholarships students will receive. And it's something we jokingly call, especially with parents, the JOB scholarship. We have a working population of students. And when you are ready to work, we want to help you get to work in something that relates to your long-term career goals. So we have a number of different employer partners here at Wichita State University. That's one of the things we do. We work with hundreds, both locally. Some of our best, though, like I said, are on the call today. A lot of people don't realize Wichita Public Schools is one of the biggest employers in the state of Kansas, employing around 9 or maybe more than 9,000 people across the district and in all kinds of different opportunities. We're fortunate that Wichita State is located in Wichita, Kansas, the largest city in the state. And therefore, we have all of these wonderful local employers that can employ our students. So we want to help get you connected with them. So the other thing I wanted to share with you here is there are a few things coming up, and I will circle back to this at the end. But if you are taking notes, please take notes of a few events coming up that we want to see you at, a few things you should know. The first is our August 14th on-campus jobs fair. There, we employ a boatload of students directly here at Wichita State University, higher as a percentage of employment than other universities of our size. So that event is August 14th. This is departments, on-campus departments like the university library, housing, the campus recreation. This will also include our partners with NIAR. Mikey will be there. Michael Henderson will be there. Our friends with Innovar will be at that event. So get this on your calendar. It's on the 3rd floor of the Radigan Student Center. You will be receiving more emails about this. This is a phenomenal event. Please come. You're going to have an opportunity to visit with all kinds of employers at that event. The other one coming up is one that Wichita Public Schools will be attending, which is the Career Connection Root Beer Kegger on August 28th. So you'll have a chance to visit, if not with Allison and Penny, then some of their colleagues at this event with Wichita Public Schools, as well as close to 50 other employers across Wichita and the region that are super eager to hire our students. This is a super casual event, so you can come in your shorts, your flip-flops. You don't need resumes. Every student, until we run out, will get a hot dog, a root beer, and an opportunity to visit with our wonderful employer partners. So that is going to be on the lawn next to Shocker Hall, next to Hubbard Hall. So look out for your student emails about that kind of stuff. If you wanted to learn more, we also have some prep workshops before the on-campus job fair. Just go to wichita.edu/OCJF to learn more about those prep workshops and everything else. And as always, I invite you to get connected with us. You can find out all of this and more by going to wichita.edu/careers or careers, excuse me. And you can learn more about those events by going to wichita.edu/career events. So, and if I could give one other tip, it's just as you are coming in as new students, please make it a habit to check your email. We only have one way to let you know about these career events, these things that are happening. I say we have more than one way, but the best way is to send you emails directly. So please check that out. We will also be launching, and you'll get information about this, a new career management platform called Shocker Central. So it's going to be very, very cool. We want you to get in there and create profiles in Shocker Central so you can see and connect with our different employer partners. So please keep an eye on your email for more information about that. So with that, I am going to unshare my screen. Are my friends with Wichita Public Schools ready to present? Did I unshare? I'm not shared. Here we go.
We
Stop
we are
sharing.
ready.
There we
We
go.
are ready and excited.
All right. Allison and Penny, take us away. We're so excited that you're here. So,
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for joining us this afternoon. We just wanted to take a little bit of time to go through and talk to you about different opportunities that we have open across the district. So I'm Allison Brooks. This is Penny McNeil. I am the special education recruiter slash everything recruiter. And then Penny over here is our substitute recruiter. So she does all things guest staff. So let's jump in. So the opportunities that we have currently, we have some part-time educator, we have guest staff or substitute teacher, guest staff paraeducator, guest staff custodian, guest staff administrative assistant. We have food/nutrition services, and then we have tutors. Everyone wants to know what the pay is. I like transparency, so I want to share that with you. Our part-time paraeducators are going to start out at $15.36 per hour. That is straight out of high school. You don't have any other work experience to your name. You're going to start at $15.36. However, if you do have experience at any other job, we would consider that, and this pay could go up. I'm going to let Penny talk to you a little bit about the substitute positions that we have.
Hello. So we call these guest staff positions, but also it's substitute. They're interchangeable. One thing I do want to tell you is after you've been hired for guest staff, what you will do is log into our system and you see what assignments are available and you pick and choose the assignments that are near you or that work with your schedule, whatever that is, because it's very flexible. Our schedules are very flexible. So we have 3 levels of guest staff teachers, $112 a day, $119 a day, $125 a day. We'll go over the specifics on that in a bit. Guest staff paraeducators make $14 an hour. The assignments that you pick up that are categorical assignments that require more intensive help actually pay $14.50 an hour for those assignments. Guest staff custodians make $13.50. Administrative assistants or clerical positions make $14, and nutrition services substitutes make $13.50 per hour.
And then we have our nutrition service aides. So these are going to be like permanent positions. You would work anytime the schools are open. Some could vary for morning, some could vary for the afternoon, but those are going to also start at $15.36 an hour, and again go up with any experience you might have. And lastly, we have our tutors. So we have our avid tutors, we have science tutors, lots of different ones. They are going to make a straight $15 an hour, and it is typically during school hours, but they're part-time. So we'll get into a little bit more of that later. So let me talk to you guys a little bit about being an assistant paraeducator. So we call them assistant paras because those are going to be our true part-time paras. The hours range between 20 hours a week and 29 hours a week. That 1536, like I said, is your starting, but could go up with experience that you have. We have our high incidence paras. Those are going to be the ones who are going to work with our kiddos who have some behavior needs and need a little extra support. They're going to be in the classroom with the general ed kids, and you're just going to be supporting kiddos who might need a little bit more redirection. Low incidence is going to be more for our kiddos who have disability, like physical disabilities. So you would be helping kiddos in wheelchairs, maybe they have walkers, just helping them get to and from with those physical supports. We have our ESOL paras. Those ones are going to be helping out our kiddos that English is not their first language. So one thing that our principals look for in hiring these guys, our ESOL paras, is that English is not your first language. It doesn't necessarily have to be Spanish. It could be any language at all. But that is one of the things that the principals look for. And that would be a really fun and exciting opportunity for anyone to help out these little kiddos. anyways, we have instructional support, which is kind of like teacher's assistant. So if a kiddo is falling behind in reading or math, you would just be there to offer them a little extra support. And then we have our pre-K paras, and they work in the pre-K classroom with the little ones. I will let Penny dive deeper on the guest staff teachers.
So as I mentioned, there's 3 different levels for guest staff teachers. So with a high school diploma, you can get an expanded emergency substitute license. As of right now, this will only be good through June 30th of 2025. It might be extended once we get closer to that, but at this time we don't know. So that pays $112 a day. With 60 college credit hours or a bachelor degree, you get an emergency substitute license and your base rate of pay is $119 a day. If you have a master degree in something, your base rate of pay is going to be $125 a day. You'll need to obtain an emergency substitute license. I am more than happy to send you those instructions for that. We do have even a cheat sheet that gives you step by step. There will be a $63 application fee to KSDE. Fingerprinting is required, and that is $57 to KSDE. However, when you get to that point, you can have your fingerprinting done here at Wichita Public Schools for no charge if you are applying for a job with us. If you go to a police station or fire department or something like that, they're probably going to charge you $50 to do that. We will do that for free, and we will send your fingerprints into KSDE for you. So a guest staff paraeducator. As I mentioned before, we have a lot of flexibility in our guest staff or substitute positions. We have schools that start at 7, some that start at 8, and some that start at 9. And there's oftentimes half-day assignments in any of our positions. And so if you started at 7 a.m. start time and you pick up a half-day assignment, you could be done by 10:45. So if you just have afternoon classes and you want to make some money in the morning, you can do that. By the same token, if you pick up an afternoon assignment at a 9 a.m. start school, you wouldn't have to be there until 12:35, and then you can still get a half a day's pay in, even if you had classes in the morning. So with all of our guest staff positions, we do have that flexibility. With a guest para position, you will have to complete a physical capacity profile, but we do pay for this and send you to that just to ensure that you can bend, twist, and lift like you do when you need to be a guest para. With all of our positions as a new hire, you will need to provide a physical and TB test. However, if you have already had one of those in the past year, you can just bring that and not have to get another physical and TB test. Pay for the guest paraeducator is $14 per hour.
One thing I did want to mention, so the major difference between a guest staff teacher and a guest staff para, teachers are going to be leading the classroom. Oftentimes they'll be left with some lesson plans. So a teacher won't be totally on their own. They'll have something to go off of typically. But then a guest staff para is going to be just extra support in the classroom. So that's kind of the difference there, if any of you are kind of wondering.
So we also have guest or substitute custodian positions, and a lot of those are in the evening. Typically, an evening custodian position starts at 2:30 in the afternoon. It can be later, but usually it's not before that. Our custodial department will train you. So you have what you need to succeed. And what you will have to take there is your physical capacity profile. Again, similar to the para one, but a little more extensive to make sure that you're not going to get hurt while you're doing that job, to make sure that it's not going to be too physical. Again, you'll have to have a physical and TB test, and the pay for this position is $13.50 per hour. We have a lot of opportunities, mostly evening, but there will be some during the day as well.
And that you would all be able to see in the portal when you go and you pick up these shifts. So there's a couple different nutrition services options. So we have our food service aides. These are going to be our permanent positions. These are going to be the ones that start out at $15.36 and could go up. You have the ability to let people know, hey, I only want to serve breakfast or I only want to serve lunch. That is something that I could help you, get plugged in with. There is a form at the end that you can get more information. But then there's also the guest staff nutrition services. So I will let Penny talk about that.
Again, we have a lot of flexibility on those nutrition services positions. Sometimes they might start at 7 and work till 2. Sometimes they might go in at 11 a.m. and work till 1. There's just a lot of flexibility. And again, we would have you, once you're hired, you sign into the portal and see what assignments are there. Basically, when someone puts in an absence, it creates an assignment for someone to pick up. Also, we have vacancies as well. So when you log into Frontline, which is where we do that, you will see all of those positions that are available, all of those assignments that are available in the field that you've been hired for. So if you're a nutrition services substitute, you will only see nutrition services opportunities, yes. And you'll also need a physical and TB for that. And also in the application process, nutrition services will test you on your fine finger movements, because you do have to be able to move quickly with your hands to serve that food.
Lastly, we have tutors. So these are oftentimes college kiddos coming to help out our students that need just a little extra support in the classroom. So schedules vary, they're different at each school. Most of them are part-time. With any of our other positions, you need a physical and a TB test. So if you're ready to get started, you can scan this QR code here. This will take you to all of our openings that we currently have available. Then if you are not sure where to get started, if you want a little bit more information, you can scan this QR code here. You'll fill out a super brief form, and Penny and I will get connected with you after you fill out that one.
If you do apply for one of our guest staff positions, one thing I do want to point out is we do require professional references, not your mom, not your aunt, not your cousin. It's someone that knows about your work ethic. It doesn't have to be a paying job. It can be a pastor at your church that you've worked with, some other volunteer opportunities that you've worked with. It can be a teacher or a professor or anything like that. But we do require professional references, and we will reach out to those.
This is great. I'm actually dropping, you gave me some links to drop in the chat. And so I am dropping those in now, because we had some questions about where can I apply, all of that kind of stuff. So in addition to those QR links that you shared, I am dropping those into the chat here. So give me just a second or two to do that. And while I'm doing that, I'll just say, wow, thank you. That was an extremely thorough presentation, clear instructions. I love that, Penny and Allison. I had the good fortune to be a substitute teacher while I was pursuing my master's degree, and I really enjoyed it. It gave me the opportunity to earn some good money while learning some transferable skills that help me out later in life, as well as, I love the flexibility of it, right? So if it was a week I was prepping for an exam or something like that, I wouldn't take any substitute teaching jobs that week, or I would take fewer, or I would go, whoa, here's this cool half day. I'm going to get that in today because it's that way I'll get out early, start my weekend early, or whatever it might be. So I really enjoyed substitute teaching, or excuse me, guest teaching, or guest para educating. So thank you.
There's also, we just remembered randomly that you get $25 extra on Fridays.
Hey,
Full day assignments only. And that's only for guest teachers.
that is a huge deal.
Yeah, extra $25. So yes, so if you want more info, definitely just scan this QR code. It's a really brief, quick little 5-question form for you. And then Penny or myself will get back to you on that.
Very good. Yeah, is that question, that link to the question form? There you go. Love this. Contact us. Okay,
Do you want me to copy and paste this and drop this in the chat too?
that would be great, Allison. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Absolutely. I'm going to stop sharing and I will drop it in the chat.
And feel free to address some of those questions in the chat that may be direct.
I can go over those for you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
so
we're
one of
gonna
the
move on to Mikey, and so because we want to keep this moving, but yeah, if you want to address those, then we can keep it. Then Allison, I think you're a co-host. So do you see those? Can you?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
All right, Mr. Michael Henderson, how are you, sir?
Really good. How are you?
I am well. Are you
Yes,
ready
sir.
to go?
I think I am. Good afternoon. My name is Michael Henderson. I am one of the managers of the National Institute for Aviation Research. Here at NIAR, we have over 35 different labs that do completely different things, ranging from collision testing to ballistic testing, lightning strike testing, reverse engineering, IT, cybersecurity, drones. Basically, if it revolves around engineering in any way, shape, or form, we do it in one of our labs. The pay will vary per lab and per job, and the amount of hours will vary per lab and job. But at the very end, I will have a link that will link you to a link where you can inquire more about all of our labs, not just the few that I discussed today. So to
Very
start off
good.
with, I will talk about the digital twin lab. And before we talk about the digital twin lab, I'll tell you about two key terms. So a digital twin is a digital counterpart to a real life physical asset.
And Mike,
And
are you sharing your screen right now?
sorry about that. I
Yeah, I
am.
was just wanted to make sure you weren't intent because that would be great if you had your screen ready and the presentation pulled up. Here we go, slide one.
Can you see my screen by chance?
We can, yep.
Okay.
This is great.
So yeah, before I go on, I just want to talk about two key terms, and it's a digital twin, which is a real life, or it's a digital counterpart to a real life asset, and a legacy aircraft, which is a aircraft that's been produced for over 40 plus years, and they are no longer making parts for these any longer. So the problem with a legacy aircraft is it's been produced for over 40 plus years, and they are no longer making parts for it. So essentially what happens is you have a part that fails or it goes bad on a legacy aircraft. Well, you have to ground it until you can find a replacement part. Finding replacement parts for them are really, really difficult when no one is manufacturing them anymore. That's where we come into play. So we establish what's called a digital twin. So one main issue with the digital twin is there is no digital model for these aircraft. Everything's done on two-dimensional pencil and paper hand-drawn drawings. So we have a process which we transform the two-dimensional hand-drawn drawings into a 3D model. And this process includes the complete disassembly of the asset, scanning with high fidelity scanners, and we compete versus companies such as Textron and Airbus, and we have interns do the work for us. And what we do is we will train you all and all of that, and pay you while we train you. Whereas Textron and Airbus would have to use full-time engineers, and they would expect a actual degree and probably 3 to 5 years of experience, and it would be much more expensive. So we typically beat out some of our competitors for these projects because we're essentially able to do it cheaper. And one of the trade-offs is many of the students who work with us, say they come in as a freshman, they are able to get 3 to 5 years of experience working with us, doing work that an actual engineer would do. Sorry, they do work that an actual engineer would do. And we have people that have been in the industry for over 30 plus years checking each and every one of your models that you create. Um, And that's one way that we are able to address any issues that may come with like modeling techniques. Now, the annotator role, the one other goal of the digital twin is to not only provide a digital model, but we also want to move away from, it's a blueprint, it's just a drawing of each and every one of these parts. We provide a model similar to the ones that you see here, but there are things called annotations, and they are basically dimensions showing you like how big every hole should be, the size and width of every single part, or any special instructions that are needed to assemble each and every one of these parts in the 3D model that you can turn around essentially and disassemble in either NX or CATIA, whichever modeling software. For the digital twin lab, our standard rate that we hire everyone at is about $12 an hour. And while you're training for that first 150 hours, and then after that first 150 hours, you get bumped up to $15 an hour. And then afterwards, raises are performance based essentially. And we do that every 6 months. Now, this will vary per lab that I speak about. And that's pretty much it. So now I will move on to our next lab. Oops. Actually, one more thing about the process of creating a digital twin. We don't always get all of the documentation that we need to create these aircraft. Sometimes we just get the physical asset itself, whether it's like a helicopter, plane, building, tank. A lot of these are military aircraft. Sometimes we just get pictures and we have to model it off of pictures. Sometimes we get to scan the physical part, and a lot of times we get all of the actual documentation, such as parts list and assembly list. And once again, we train you guys to, we don't expect any knowledge on engineering before coming to us, because one of our jobs is to train you all to be able to, once again, interpret drawings, parts list, assembly list, and to be able to model using every software that we use. And that's what that first 150 hours is utilized for. We have many locations around the city, so after you finish your training, it could vary where you get placed, essentially. And so next, I will be moving on to both our reverse engineering and our additive manufacturing labs. So I will start off with additive manufacturing. 3D printing customers around town or individuals come to us with either parts or problems that they have, or 3D printing customers around town or individuals come to us with either parts or problems that they have creating parts. And we try to provide a solution. This could be in the form of using a different machine, using different materials that will work alongside these machines. We help a lot with modifying their designs to work on those different types of 3D printers, or make changes to ensure that it is printable with whatever technology we use. By technology, that could be anything from different plastics, different resins for some of our different plastics. And another one of our additive manufacturing labs, which is very similar to the one that I just spoke about, the in-use application is mostly aerospace components, such as rocket nozzles and UAV components. This lab, this version of the additive manufacturing lab does a lot of computer-aided drafting, computer-aided machining, as well as finite element analysis. And it's called CFD, but it's called computational fluid dynamics. In an easier way to understand, they are things that you can do, terms of analysis that you can do that are geared towards UAV design. And that lab actually goes hand in hand with our reverse engineering lab, which is another one of our 35 different labs. Each lab that I talk about here today are either portions of a lab, like small portions of a lab, but each one of these labs has over like 20 to 30 different projects that they can assign students to. But the reverse engineering lab is the one that I will talk about next. So when it comes to reverse engineering, we have a scanning team, and we have different types of scanning equipment. We have long range scanners that have the capability to scan a full aircraft. So if we want to go out and help a customer that has an airplane they would like to make modifications to, we can scan the exterior of the aircraft and give them the digital data or a digital package that they can use uh, to start their either modifications or analysis, because every aircraft is a little bit different. We have a long range scanner that can also do facilities. We have long range scanners that can do full color up to 500 or 1,000 feet. So if you want to map out an entire aircraft hangar or a full building or an assembly plant, we can map that out into a digital form where they can move around equipment digitally and put in these tiny little robotic cells, essentially, so that we can see how it will fit in our facility, because a lot of places don't have accurate architectural drawings. So it's not just aircraft parts that are air small pieces that we work with, but we work with a little bit of everything. And one more thing that I would like to touch on is 3D printing. This is another form of our reverse engineering or additive manufacturing lab. So we have our BAM machine, and sorry. So in our BAM machine, we can do pieces that are 6 foot by 12 foot by 6 feet tall. So when it comes to composite tooling, we can create these parts in about a day or two. Then we spend about another day or two machining it down and smoothing the overall shape and surface. And once you have that nice smooth surface, you can lay something called a composite tooling down on it, or a composite panel on it. And when you do this, you only have the cost of the day-to-day operation, which typically takes about 1 to 2 days, and then you have the cost of the plastics. And now, versus traditional manufacturing, you use like big aluminum tools, which would be 10 times more expensive, and it would take much more time. So there's a lot of projects that Nair has done that may be like a one-off prototype to see if we could simplify cost for a company or make replacement parts. So we don't just make like the little toys or trinkets or things like that, but we can do more. We do things that are more practically used for manufacturing and assisting with creating parts and pieces for aircraft as well, essentially. And I believe I may have one more minute. So with that being said, we have 35 other labs that do completely different things. And not only that, but we contract our students or our interns out to other companies such as Textron or Airbus as well. That's also part of our applied learning program. And in this process, I'll speak from my own experience. 10 years ago, my first 2 years here, I worked first at Cessna for 1 year and then at Beechcraft for another year. And then for the next 4 years, I worked at a completely different company. But each time one of those projects ended, I just got moved to another project. And that's typically what happens for all of our students up until the time they either find a new job or graduate. With that being said, I will have one more slide, and this will be the slide that shows you my contact information. So if you would like to apply to the Digital Twin Lab over the next year or 6 months, I believe, I'll be hiring over 150 students for one project specifically. So if you would like to apply for that, go ahead and email me directly, but also CC Brian Austin. And I've attached a link to a page which has all of our labs that you can read a little bit more about. And that's pretty much it. Once again, I only touched on 3 out of 35 labs, and I would like to stress that the Digital Twin Lab is actually one of our newest labs, but it's also one of our biggest, and that's one that we will be hiring for the most, which is that modeling and annotating role. Any other positions you can currently see on Handshake at the moment, and that's pretty much it for me. I will most likely pass it back to Austin Bryan if I don't have any more questions.
Wow, Michael, excuse, excuse me, that was incredible. So incredible, it's making me sneeze. So I dropped your email address as well as my email address into the chat. I love this. You know, so as Michael said, and as I alluded to before the chat, we are so fortunate that NIAR is part of Wichita State University. I don't know of any other university that has anything like the National Institute for Aviation Research in terms of the work that's being done there, or the number and variety of students that you apply or that apply and work there. So it's pretty remarkable. We have a few minutes left, and so I wanted to, in addition to the chat, which you're able to ask questions in the chat, um, feel free to continue to do so. I know Allison and Penny have been replying to those. Mike can do the same thing as well. But if anyone would like to, we have maybe 10 minutes or so. If you'd like to unmute your mic and ask questions, feel free to do that now.
So how flexible are the hours if you take something up with NIAR?
So they're actually very flexible. Most of our workers are interns. With that being said, I'll talk about one lab specific. It will vary per lab, but for instance, the biggest lab, the digital twin lab, our lab opens from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Friday. And depending on which project you get placed on, you also may be able to work all day Saturday. So from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. as well. But that once again will vary per so there's 35 different labs. That's just one of the labs. That will depend on which lab you are assigned to or that you apply for as well.
Michael, there's another one in the chat here from Kiara Robinson that says, what if you don't have working experience?
You'd need absolutely zero. So one of my main jobs is to train you for about 150 hours for whatever software that you need to learn for your project. And I also train you how to read any engineering documents. So like your typical blueprint that you would see with like a part and dimensions to it. I teach you how to read uh, parts lists, assembly list, engineering change orders, drawing sheets. I don't have an example of them right now, but I train you how to do everything that you would need to do for your specific job. For the digital twin lab specifically, if you go to our handshake, it will say if it needs prior job experience or not. But once again, the lab that we are hiring the most students for at this time, I will be hiring 150 people between now and the next semester for. That requires absolutely zero job experience whatsoever.
I love that. This one, someone asks, when can we start applying to these positions? And I don't know if they're referring to NIAR or to Wichita Public Schools. So I'm going to answer for both. It appears right now, today. I see Allison nodding, Penny nodding, Michael nodding. So yes, Michael's given you the application instructions right here on the screen he is sharing. Email michael.henderson@idp.wichita.edu if you're interested in any and all of those opportunities. We have dropped the links that Allison and Penny provided us for Wichita Public Schools in the chat. So do not hesitate. You can do it right now before you finish, listening to the end of this presentation. So, and I encourage you to do that.
I have a quick question
Yes, O'Neill.
for Michael Henderson. What are some of your cybersecurity opportunities that you'd made mention
So
of earlier?
I am one of the managers specifically over like the digital twin lab specifically. There's a link at that link there. Or in Handshake, you will be actually in Handshake, you'll be able to see all of NIAR's essentially job postings, and that will say cybersecurity
And Michael,
job.
we're not using Handshake. You know that, right?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're in the new app that we are using. So here by the end of, I'll say like give it a week or two, we will have all of our job postings moved on to the new app. It's not Handshake. It's the new app that we are switching over to. So give us about 2, maybe 3 weeks in the latest, and you'll be able to see all of our job postings.
Yeah.
that I was
I
talking
believe
about.
Michael, I think what you're referring to is the new career platform that I mentioned at the very beginning of this call, which was Shocker Central. So
Okay.
when that launches, you for all the incoming students that are curious about when that launches, any day now. So keep an eye on your email. You will be bombarded, absolutely bombarded with instructions about this new career platform where you can apply to these different opportunities. You will not miss a single thing about instructions on how to apply or about any of these career opportunities if you are checking your email. So that's why the advice I gave to every single one of you at the beginning of the call was, please check your email, do it daily. You won't miss a thing if you do. Let me take a look at Michael. I get this question all the time, and I think people are just so shocked because I know you've already addressed this on the call. They say, well, I'm not an engineering major. Does that matter? Of course, it doesn't matter. You hire students of all degree types. You just said here that you need zero experience, absolutely zero experience. So you provide all the training necessary. It does not matter what your major is. I know many students at NIAR that are majoring in criminal justice, that are majoring in fine arts, that are majoring in accounting and business degrees. It does not matter. I love that you guys do that. And I love that Wichita Public Schools does that as well. So Wichita Public Schools, the reason both of these employers' students are on this call is because they hire students from every major. So Jeremiah Brooks says, and I think he's referring to the NIAR positions. Are these on-campus positions? Some of them are. Many of them are. They're all with Wichita State University, but NIAR has labs across Wichita. So essentially five-ish major locations across Wichita. So some of them will require that you have a car to be able to travel to some of those. I saw another question asking about how does employment work over the summer with NIAR. Michael, feel free to add on to this, but a student says, I live from out of state. How will that work? Well, it's probably going to depend on the lab and the arrangements you can make with your supervisor. I can tell you that if you can stay in Wichita and continue to work over the courses of the summer, there's nothing that says you have to move back home for the summer. Many students, particularly ambitious ones, will go, you know what? I'm here. I'm in Wichita. Maybe they're transitioning, moving into an apartment. We do have summer housing available in Wichita. I'm gung ho. I'm going to work right here in my internship or in my job straight through the summer. And we encourage you to do that. Obviously, we do understand some students need to move back home for the summer. So if you need to do that, great. But if you can stay here and work through it, provides a lot of advantages. Let me see. I'm looking at different questions here. Michael, if you can open the chat, feel free to reply to those one-on-one, but we're getting to the point where we want to wrap up. For
I do want to make
Mr.
one more.
O'Neill Browning, who asked the question about cybersecurity, as Michael said, as it applies to NIAR, we also have our entire Innovar group and the cybersecurity forensic research group here at WSU that hires a boatload of students in cybersecurity. So just wanted to point that out there. Michael.
I did want to make one quick note. Please do not email us from your school emails. We won't get those typically. So one, email us from a personal email, not a school email. Two, please, if you're emailing me, email the michael.henderson@idp.wichita.edu. I will put that in the chat. One thing is if you search in your My WSU, account, you'll see my school email from when I went to school, and I don't check that one. So please don't email that one as well. That's all I wanted to add.
Appreciate that, Michael. And I'm already getting emails from people. So thanks for copying me. I'll make sure to share those with you, Michael. So Penny, Allison, anything that you wanted to add?
Thank you so much for having us. I've already got some form responses from some of you guys, so really excited to go back and follow up with you all.
Keep filling those out.
Yeah.
That's great. And I see the question, when would the earliest we would hear back from either WPS or NIAR when we apply? The
You'll
whole
hear from me this week if you apply for a guest staff position.
There you go. And I know Michael's very fast. Someone asked Brian, what's your email address again? I'm in the directory at WSU. You can find me just by Googling me, but I'll drop it here in the chat. Bam. Oh, it didn't go. Just a second. .edu. There we go. Guys, this was great. Thank you all. We will post this after the call ends here. So if you have other questions, please don't hesitate to email me directly. I can loop in Allison and Penny and Michael as needed, as well as the rest of the staff on the Shocker Career Accelerator and admissions team. So unless we have anything else, I'm going to say thank you.
Yeah, I have a question real quick.
Yeah,
So
Jared.
the job fair you mentioned earlier, it's like August 14th, I believe.
Yep.
So I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it. I think I'm gonna be out of town. Is there any way to get contacts for those employers that'll be there? Any other way to contact them?
Yep, through Shocker Central, which is that new online career platform that we're talking about. So that's a great question. Love that. And then the other thing you can do is there will be lots of opportunities throughout the year to engage with these different employers, whether it's physical on person or virtual events. So keep checking those emails. Just because you might miss the on-campus job fair doesn't mean that you've missed out on all the opportunities. Yeah, that's what I would say. So very good, Jared. Email me if anyone else has questions. Email me. Happy to answer. So grateful to all of you. We will see you in just a few weeks. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.